Coming up on Finding Better Podcast, episode 176, Jim Carlo is joining me, and we're talking about leadership. Now, understand that leadership doesn't only happen at work or in your business. It happens at home with your family. It happens with your friends. It happens at school, right? Wherever we're working with people, whether you know it or not, there are times when you're leading people. And the thing that I love about this topic is that when you learn to be a really great leader, you are lifting people. And when you lift others, you lift the world. You've heard me say that, right? And it's all about finding better and helping others find better as well. It's a wonderful conversation. Please share it. Please subscribe. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life experiences and real lived wisdom with people who have been there and done that. Because, sometimes the best path to success is to follow in the footsteps of folks who've done it, right? Whatever it is you want to do. Listen, our topic today applies to everybody. And that topic is leadership. My guest today is Jim Carlo. Jim, welcome to Finding Better.
Hey, John, thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to talk to your audience.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about. Listen, let me just introduce you to Jim. Jim is an author and a professional speaker. And again, we're talking about leadership. And leadership isn't about titles, and it's not only about business. Okay. So when you think about if you're thinking this is all about business, don't hang up. Okay. Because leadership involves every part of our lives when you're dealing with people. And it literally is about how you show up for others, right? And anyone can learn it. Jim is the author of the book, The 6 Pillars of Effective Leadership. Okay. If you're in a family, leadership is involved. And it's called, I'm sorry, The 6 Pillars of Effective Leadership, a Roadmap to Success. And Jim shares 6 simple principles that he's going to talk to us about today. And these are kind of life-changing qualities that'll help you learn to earn respect, stay calm under pressure, right? And connect with people on a deeper level, which is what this is all about, what we're all about, what life is all about, and inspire trust wherever you go. And we're going to talk about those 6 principles and Jim's experience right now. So, Jim, let's get right into it. Let's talk a little bit about your background, your experience, and what led you to write this book.
I have been in healthcare for my entire professional career. And for the last 25 years, I've done a lot of mentoring of younger people who want to get into leadership. And what I found was around the world, we typically promote people who have been a tremendous individual contributor. And we say to them, hey, John, we want you to be a manager. You get all excited, go home and tell the wife, you got a pay raise, you got a title, but nobody gave you a roadmap of what to do the next day.
Right.
And I found that a lot of these people struggled with some basic principles because they never knew what to do. And so to me, what I started to do is I started to make a list of all of the characteristics that a great leader needs. And the list was about 18 items long. And I thought, I can't teach people 18 things. So I tried to condense it as best I could, and I got it down to 6. Didn't get it to 5, and 7 wasn't good enough.
Right.
But the 6 seemed right. And with these principles, people can really have a roadmap to be successful. And as you said in your intro, this applies not just to business. This applies to parents who are raising kids.
You bet.
And I'll mention this. This is a podcast, but I have been invited on a podcast before for stay-at-home moms, where we focused on empathy and compassion because that's what they struggled with. I have been on a podcast for executive chefs who manage a kitchen. I have been on podcasts for superintendent of schools and a separate one for elementary school principals. In fact, in August, and we're going to give away a couple of books at the end, but in August, a woman had won one of my books, and she took it on vacation with her and took a picture of her feet laying on a chair with the book on her lap. And she said, "This is my homework for this week before school starts in a couple of weeks." And 4 days later, she posted, "I have finished the book. I am so excited to get back into the classroom and into the school. Every principal needs to read this book." I,
Wonderful.
I never expected how wide it applied initially, but it really is, it applies to everybody.
Well, a couple of things I just want to mention. First of all, where you're dealing with people, and especially in families, I mean, leadership starts at home, right? And that's all I'll say about that. It applies to everybody. The other thing is that you'd mentioned about folks who got promoted from individual contributors to managers. You know, I've often believed, and there's lots and lots and lots of books that talk about this, that um, management is assigned, leadership is earned, right? And I wanted to make that distinction because you went right into management and then teaching them about leadership. There is management training and there's leadership training. A lot of companies offer management training. It really is, and I distinguish management training as management training of the brain, of being smart, right? Here's what to do. Leadership and learning about leadership comes from the heart. It really does. And you have to earn the title of being a leader because if you're not a good leader, people aren't going to follow you, right? And you're not going to earn their trust. So I just want to make that distinction. We're talking about leadership. Um, of course, management happens at home too, but the whole leadership concept is what we're talking about today.
Correct.
Yeah. So let's get into the six principles.
So let's start with what I call the most important principle and the non-negotiable principle,
Great.
and that is integrity. I
Ouch.
believe every leader has to operate with absolute integrity and transparency if they intend to have a following or a team that believes in them. And I have led my entire life by that integrity principle. And it first came to me when I was 22 years old, fresh out of college. I did a crazy thing. I ran for a local political office in the small town I grew up in, and I won. And I was like, now what? And
Yeah.
and thankfully, the city administrator called me shortly after the election, and he asked to talk to me. So I went in and sat down with him, and he ultimately said, "Jim, I have one favor to ask you." He said, "What I'd like you to do is every night when you go to bed and you put your head on the pillow, I want you to ask yourself one question. Did I do anything today for my own self benefit that was at the expense of another individual, group of individuals, or organization?" And he said, if you say yes to that question, you need to immediately do two things. Number one, figure out how to unwind it. And number two, figure out how to never do it again. If you say no to that question, you can rest peacefully. I,
Okay.
I have asked myself that question every night since November 1983.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to repeat that question.
Absolutely. Did I do anything today for my own self benefit that was at the expense of another individual, group of individuals, or organization? And if I answer yes, the two things I immediately have to do before I can close my eyes is figure out how to unwind it and figure out how to never repeat it again.
Did I do anything today that was for my own best interest at the expense of others? Ooh, okay. That's a
That
powerful question.
that hit me hard at the age of 22, but it set me on a pathway that led to everything that I do in life. And whether it's raising a family or running a business, I don't cross that integrity line. And I've been challenged in my career to
Oh,
occasionally have the
absolutely.
courage to stand up to that principle
Oh,
and to not waver.
those challenges happen every day, right? I
Correct.
mean, they happen every day, and not only in business, but in our personal lives. And you sit there and you go, wow, I could really benefit from this, but if it's at the expense of somebody else, then and that's such a deep question,
It
right?
is, yes,
And I mean that question, I can imagine that question popping up in my head in just about every personal interaction I have. Um, that is very cool because integrity. You've heard the old saying that integrity is what you do when no one else is looking. Well, I mean, okay, that there's some truth to that. Um, but integrity is tough. It's tough. I mean, to me, integrity means that you're always doing the right thing,
correct.
and always is not negotiable, and right is not negotiable. A lot of it's really hard. It's really hard.
And it was hard to, when I heard it at first, and I give my parents credit because my parents did a great job at raising us, but they were instilling really that integrity principle at a very young age in all of us. And but when I'm getting out of college and I'm thinking, now I'm on my own, now I've got to set the world on fire, or what I thought I was going to do, and
Right.
have somebody say to me, I mean, it hit me like a brick hitting me on the head and saying, it was that powerful that when I left that meeting, I sat in the car and I went, wow.
And what happened in the meeting?
Just that conversation about, then him and the city manager asking me to
Oh, that
ask
cover.
that
Okay, got
question
it,
every
got it, got
night.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, got it. Sorry.
I mean, but it really is that powerful.
Right, right. Because I mean, it includes yourself, but it includes the impact on others, and that's what I mean. Your integrity involves others. Anyway, I love that. I
And
love
not
that.
only that, he didn't say ask yourself if you did anything politically to others or anything. It was so generic that I sincerely believe he meant to, you've got to live your life this way.
Yeah,
Not that I hadn't been, but I was setting a new path. And so I have literally walked that line straight down the center of the road.
that is awesome. That is awesome. And you also have to ask yourself, well, what's the alternative? What's the alternative to live outside of integrity? And it's you know, I'm just going to take a one of the things that I have seen and I've experienced and led to my belief is that we have gotten so smart over 40 years of technological advancements, that I've been involved with my entire career. But we've gotten so smart over the years that we've kind of forgotten our heart. And and integrity is about heart. It's about heart, right?
It starts with that. And
Yeah,
to me, you can't build a team of trust, a team that will follow you, a team that believes in the direction you're going if you don't start with integrity.
right.
Because if I try to show the next two pillars, which are empathy and compassion, you won't believe it if I've not operated in integrity. It'll come through as false.
Right, right. No, and people know it. People
and
know
they
it.
know it, and they know it
Everybody's
right
got their
away.
bullshit meter on, right? And they've got,
And
yeah,
and I think if you look at organizations that have 10% or 15% turnover every year, you've got a leadership problem.
right,
You don't have a hiring problem, you have a
right.
leadership problem.
Now, Jim, you had an experience where you were in a situation where your employees were at risk, and tell us a little bit about that because I love that story because it embodies what we're talking about of how leadership leads to trust, right?
So yes, I
Or
want
integrity leads to trust. Sorry. Yeah.
integrity leads to trust. But so it's a situation where I was running multiple departments in a technology company, and one team that I had was in charge of a claim system platform that we were planning to sunset. It was old green screen technology. So I'm dating myself now. This was back in the late 90s,
Yeah.
early 2000
Okay.
timeframe.
Okay. So folks, what we're talking about with green screen technology, because this is way back. The screens today, you look on your phone, you look on your laptop, everything is beautiful. Back in the 80s and 90s, we had these green screens where
And you
it was
didn't have these, and you didn't
you
have
didn't
these.
have mice, you didn't have the mouse, you didn't have anything. And literally you had a black screen with green writing. And that's all you had. That's all you had. We called it a green screen. And so the world has advanced quite a bit since then. Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
But that's okay. So we had come out with new Windows-based claim systems, and my challenge that I was given was I had to continue to lead and support those 30 plus customers while we converted them over 3 to 4 years to the Windows technology, because an
Hmm.
implementation would take 8 to 12 months. And so I was challenged with I had to tell these people their jobs were going away. And I didn't know how to tell them that in a way that they wouldn't just update their resume and run out the door the next
Right,
week.
right.
Because I had revenue to protect and customers to convert. So it took me almost a week of racking my brain out and talking to my mentors about how do I do this? And the best I got was good luck, Jim. And not that they didn't, they just had never been faced with something like that.
Right.
And so ultimately, I came to started to think if this was happening to me, what would I want from my boss?
Sure.
So I went to the team and I met with them as a group and I made them three promises. Promise number one, each person would know a minimum of 6 plus months in advance of when I was projecting that a group of clients would be departing and their job would go away because we had that luxury of time.
6 months. Yep.
6 months minimum. The second thing I promised anybody that wanted to convert over to support the Windows technology, whether you were a programmer, a support analyst, or an account manager, I would make that training available during the workday so that when the time came, you could slide into that new role and you could be on your way and still doing the same thing you were doing, but just with a new type of equipment.
Perfect.
The third thing I said to them was if you don't want to learn the new systems and you don't want to stay with the company, I will help you find a job on the outside that fits your financial needs and your skill set.
Whoa. Those three things cover it all. You're brilliant,
So,
right?
so my only goal was I needed to keep people on board to support the clients until they were all transitioned.
And you know what I love about that, just real quick, is that you found a way to show your people that you cared about them, right? And that you didn't just say, I mean, you could think of a dozen people just like I can that we've worked for who would have handled that situation very, very differently, right? So what
Correct.
happened?
So everybody stayed until it was time for them to go. And then a funny thing happened, not a funny thing, but About 2.5 years into this transition, I get a call from HR and they want to come and visit with me. I always hate it
Uh-oh.
when HR says, "Can I come and visit with you?" And these two women came in. They didn't have an empty box, and my boss wasn't with them. So so I kind of, got at ease with the conversation. They sat down and they said, "Jim, we did a employee satisfaction survey about 60 days ago, and we need to talk to you about one of your teams." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "Which one?" And they said, "The team out in California that you're downsizing." I said, "How bad is it?" And they said, "Well, that's why we're here. They're the happiest employees in the entire company. We have 20,000 employees, and that group that you're downsizing are the happiest. We want to know why."
I love it.
And I said, I don't know. And they said, "Well, what are you doing to keep them motivated and not running out the door?" So I told them the three promises that I made. And they started writing, all of this down. And they said, we can't believe you did that, but look at the result you got. Nobody has left. Now, 25 years later, I still get emails from some of those people on Boss's Day thanking me for being the best boss they ever had.
That is amazing. That is amazing. One of my favorite sayings, if you will, that I patterned just about everything I did during my career was they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
True.
And you know what? You show them it's heart. It's heart, right? That you care about them and the integrity part of it. That's wonderful.
It,
Congratulations.
well, thank you. Thank you. But, and you said it at the opening of the show, it's leading with heart
Yeah.
and leading with
Yeah.
compassion and
Yep.
leading with empathy. And if they didn't trust me, they would have run out the door. So the integrity's first. Then I come to them and I show them some empathy and give them a roadmap of how this is going to work. They had nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
took all the worry away.
That's right. That's right. That's wonderful. All right. Well, let's shift gears a little bit, if it's okay. Is that all right with you? If we go in
Absolutely, sir.
and you
Absolutely.
you mentioned a little bit earlier about working with a bunch of moms on a couple of the other six principles. Let's get into that.
So I got a call or an email from a podcast host like yourself who wanted me to be on the podcast. So I looked up the podcast, and the podcast was for stay-at-home moms. And so I said, "Well, we need to have a chat." So we got on the phone together, and I said, "You know, I don't know that my book is a fit for stay-at-home moms." And the host said to me, "Wait a second.
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?" She
Yeah.
said, and she said, "Look," she said, "I've read your book, and my moms struggle with empathy and compassion, and they struggle with it every day, and that's all I want to talk about,"
So those are and which are number two and three, right?
which are number two and three. And
Okay.
so we did an episode of almost an hour on empathy and compassion, and the results were phenomenal with the feedback that we had gotten from some of the moms, and it made them feel better and look at things differently. Stay-at-home moms have a very hard job. I
Oh,
mean,
huge.
I mean, if I was to have raised my kids and be a stay-at-home dad, they'd probably be, I don't even want to say where they'd probably be right now. If it wasn't for my wife, who was a stay-at-home mom and worked weekends as a nurse to keep her license active, and I took care of the kids on the weekend. I mean, I couldn't have done it. And so I think, any stay-at-home parent, father or wife or whoever, they're just as important as teachers in the world. They're laying the foundation for people who are going to then be our leaders or managers or whoever down the road.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what were some examples of the challenges that they were having with empathy and compassion.
I think they felt what I heard from them was they felt that they were an authoritative figure, and they thought that it was all about discipline, and it wasn't.
Managers versus leaders. There you go,
Managers
right
versus
there.
leaders. But when you change the dynamic, you can still be a manager with heart and compassion and empathy and still discipline. It's not, you don't, when I was growing up, my mom had this little paddle that she always threatened us with. My parents never hit us, never hit us.
But the threat was always there,
But
hanging
this,
over your head.
I remember this paddle to this day. It was about this long and a very big bold print at the top. It says, "Put me to work." There were little cartoon things at the bottom of where you could use the paddle, and one was on the bum of a child.
Yeah,
And
sure.
it was everybody has a junk drawer in their kitchen, right? It was in the junk drawer, and the first thing mom would do is, "Don't you don't want me to use this, do you?" But she never used it. She
Yeah,
never used it. But the sheer threat of that,
right.
was okay, mom, I get it. I'll go clean my room, or whatever the situation was. But so the moms needed to understand that it's okay to show empathy and compassion. I mean, they always showed it. I'm sure if their child fell down, scraped their knee, and they started
Right,
crying,
right,
they showed it. But there's other times that they needed to show it as well in terms of their upbringing of their children to make sure that the children understood and knew, that I love you unconditionally and I'm going, we're going to
right,
do the right thing.
right.
We're going to do the right thing. But it taught me a very valuable lesson because here I'm thinking this book applied to just business, and this podcast host showed me it's not just business. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
life.
yeah. That's right. And I can only imagine, well, stay at home. My daughter right now is a stay at home mom with three boys. And boy, I mean, what a big job. What a big job that is. And balancing that discipline, if you will, with the with not only having unconditional love, but showing it, right? And I can only imagine how tough that is with single moms, right?
Oh,
With single moms who have to serve as the disciplinarian, and have to say they have to serve all roles. And so yeah, I mean this what leadership. It's
it's
a brain. It's a hard part of
being a parent.
being a parent. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That is amazing. All right. So we talked about integrity, we've talked about empathy, and we've talked about compassion. What do you want to talk about next?
Let's talk about focus.
About focus. Excellent.
Focus.
Okay.
So when I think of focus, I think of really looking at what is the goal that I'm trying to accomplish and making sure that everybody understands what that box or what that circle looks like. And a great example of this is Jeff Bezos at Amazon.
Ah, yeah.
And and his focus, or you could even Jobs is another perfect example. His focus was on bringing the best technology as quickly as possible to the world. I mean, how did he know I needed an iPod to listen to music? I didn't
Right.
know, right?
Right.
Now my iPod is my phone. Now my phone is my life, right?
Right.
Everything about me is on that phone. But he had vision and he had focus and he never wavered from that. And the story that I like about Jeff Bezos is when he started Amazon in his garage in the mid 90s, he sold books, just books online.
Right.
And then he started to expand into other things. Today he now owns a grocery store chain and you can get your food delivered from him. And right? And you can get virtually anything you want delivered to your home via Amazon.
Right.
And I'm surprised there's still malls out there that are still open and full because you don't need to go to the mall anymore. The mall is the screen that you're looking at.
Hmm.
And so early on in Amazon's growth, he had a very bad reputation, not him personally, the company had a reputation of poor customer service. And instead of going to his leader over customer service and say, hey, buddy, you got a problem, go fix it, he took the time to put a desk in the middle of the floor of the customer service department and parked himself there for 6 months and watched and documented and listened and just focused on how do I fix this thing? And he turned it around by just digging in and focusing on it, getting rid of all other noise around him, and really stepped away from being CEO. Probably still did CEO stuff at night, but focused on this problem because it was so important. And he knew that if he didn't fix it, it would never grow and it wouldn't last.
Oh my gosh.
And look where it is today.
I've never heard that story. Today it's world class. Their
It,
service is absolutely world class.
correct.
And they're the gold standard,
They're
right?
the gold
They are
standard.
the absolute gold standard. That is really cool. And you think about Jeff Bezos, you think about Steve Jobs, you think about Elon Musk, right? I mean,
Right.
that is one of the things about these guys. The laser focus. And I have to and I chuckle a little bit about myself because on the other hand, you got people like me, right? I mean, my wife calls me a dog with a squirrel. Squirrel, 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 right? And I'm the opposite of focus a lot of times. But at the same time, when you're like me and you're in a leadership role, and if I allow myself to get into squirrel mode, it really confuses people, right? It really, which way do we go? What are you talking about? How do we, right? And same thing, just in life and dealing with people. And so, um, how did you come up with focus as one of your top pillars?
Um, I found that working with the various teams I have in my career, a lot of people have the dog chasing the squirrel thing. And I'll give you an analogy. I guarantee people this will resonate with people. Have you ever been on a Zoom call where the person that you're talking to is going like this?
Like me?
Because they have six screens and
Oh,
they're not focused on this conversation.
right, right.
And and to me, when I see an employee doing this, I can only imagine the distraction it's giving everybody else on the call. And I challenge them, you need to turn those screens off. You can't be focused
And look into the camera.
and look into the camera. You need to be now. Do I have more than one screen? Yes, I have a second screen. But you know what? When I'm on a call like this, I mean, that screen is on, it's over here,
Yeah,
but I'm
but
not
you're
looking at
present.
it.
Yep.
I'm present. And somebody who can't be present is always chasing that squirrel.
And I just want to share something with you. Um, I Younger people today um, have brains that are wired differently than yours and mine.
Sure.
And I, I was talking to one day I was talking to a retired rear admiral of the Navy, and he was one of the guys that started the Top Gun Academy. And
Ah,
he asked me one day, he says, "John, who do you think wins? Are us old dogs or the new kids?" And I said, "The old dogs." He says, "Why?" I said, "Because you guys been there, done that. You guys know and have the experience." And he says, "Well, yeah." He says, 100% of the time." And then he said, "The young kids win. They blow us out of the sky every single time." And I went, "Why?" He says, "Because of video games. They grew up with
ah,
video games." And I said, "Well, what's video games got to do with dogfights?" He says, "They're able to track multiple targets at the same time."
because they've been trained.
because they're exactly, and that was so interesting. And several other people, given different examples, told me the same thing. It's real. And we talk about the focus part of it. You and I like to, and a lot of times we like to have phone calls. Younger people can't stand the phone calls because you're only doing one thing at a time, as opposed to seeing young people doing this, texting, right? They're not only texting 6,000 words a minute, but they're having multiple conversations in their
Agree.
text streams. And so so focus is such an interesting thing to me, because it can mean different things to different people. But the point is just focus.
Just, just focus. I mean, so we were visiting my son and daughter-in-law in Houston a couple of weekends ago, and we're all sitting on the couch and they're texting. Guess what? They're texting each other and they're sitting next to
On the
each.
couch. Yeah, that's right.
And I'm like, who are you talking to? And my daughter-in-law says, I'm talking to Andrew. And I'm like, he's sitting right next to you.
Yeah, I'm talking to him.
And I'm
Yeah,
talking to him. And
yeah.
I'm like, I can't imagine a world where my communication is solely on a keyboard. But
You know,
guess where we're going.
exactly. And the irony of this whole thing is that of all the functionality of our phones, our smartphones, the phone functionality doesn't even come into the top 10. And yet
Right.
we keep calling it a phone. So yeah, it is amazing. It is amazing. And
And
who
not
knows
only
where the
that,
world's going? Yeah.
it is so dominant. We built our current house in 2015. There's not a house phone anymore.
Yeah, that's right. I was just talking to some friends last night. Nobody has a landline phone anymore. And you talk to young people, they go, "What the hell is a landline phone?" Right?
Correct. And so now we do have an internet-based phone because we have internet, and so I use Magic Jack, ironically, which is very inexpensive, but there's other vendors out there, and so for backup purposes or 911 purposes, you want to have a phone. Especially we live out in the rural part of the county, so cell phone coverage is somewhat spotty. So we've always had this internet-based phone just as a backup.
And that was called Magic Jack?
Magic
I'm
Jack.
gonna check that out. Folks, that's something I just learned something. Well, I've been
So
learning through this
you
whole
plug it
episode, but
into your router, you plug your cell phone, your phone into the router, and so the base of the phone, which is also a, a message machine, whatever you call them,
okay.
and you plug that in, and then you could have four different phones around the house that are connected wirelessly to that phone system.
Oh, cool. Cool. Okay, Magic Jack. All
Magic
right. So, focus. That's number four. Let's go on to number five.
stability,
Stability. Excellent.
doing, behaving and acting the same way, whether you're in crisis mode or normal mode. If the captain of the ship is the first one off the ship, he is not a leader.
Right.
And if you don't behave in stressful situations the same way you do in normal situations, you're going to create anxiety amongst the organization, and they're going to sense the instability and will constantly ask, what's wrong and what are we doing?
And talk about the importance of stability in a family.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. And
I
when I
mean,
think of stability, the first person I think of is Warren Buffett. If you think about him enough and read about him, he's always the same.
that's right.
I don't think he gets excited. I don't think I don't I mean, I've never seen it in any interview or whatever. He's always the same. And so you have to always show up and behave the same way, even in times of crisis. So a short example of this is I had two people that worked for me. One was a manager, and the other individual reported to that manager. And I heard them in the hallway having an argument, and it started to get escalated. So I went out and I asked them to come with me, and we went into my office and sat down. And I said, I need to understand what's going on. What's the argument about? And the two of them started to say and talk about trying to solve a client problem. And they were both wrapped around the axle of their own position, that they couldn't see the forest through the trees. And as I listened to them argue in front of me, no, this is the way we have to do it. No, I realized that they both were right, but they never thought to combine the solution because their egos got in the way. And I said, wait a second, what if we were to do this and basically combine those and resolve this? You both are arguing great positions, but you're both right. The client needs both of those. And the subordinate to that manager broke down and started to cry. And I asked her what was wrong. And she said, I'm mad at myself. She said, you shouldn't have had to solve this for us. This is our fault. And she said, and I'm emotional because you always do the right thing. And I said, no, wait a second. I am not perfect. She said, no, but you act the same way consistently, and you're consistently right, and you're consistently leading us, and I should have seen this answer. And then the manager said the same thing. So it's being able to show that stability, because it's a calming thing as well. If you go out as a leader and start yelling and screaming, people are going to wonder what's on fire, right? And you're not going to, and you're going to lose credibility when they see emotional responses like that. So stability is so important.
That example that you used, you are the calming force, right? And I have to apologize right now because there is a crow outside my window. And that thing keeps cawing. And so anyway, my apologies. But yeah, stability is so important. And as you were talking again, I lead back to families. I lead back um, to personal
Right.
relationships, right? Um, and we all know people who fly off the handle. We all know bosses who fly off the handle. We all know, right? And
Exactly.
who are living it. You don't know what to expect. Are you going to get the happy John or are you going to get the kind of psycho John, right? And that creates stress of itself within an organization or within a family. I mean, you know, I'm grateful for my dad. I love my dad. I used to hate my dad until I changed my perspective about my dad, right? But man, he would come home and I didn't know which dad was going to come through that front door. And that created such a level of stress that I literally I ran away from home when I was 16 and I left home for good on my 18th birthday
Wow.
because that lack of stability just it was terrible. And so that is such a wise observation to make as one of your six pillars. Let's get into the last one. Can't wait.
Humor. Now, now let me clarify.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting a leader needs to be the comedian at the water cooler telling jokes.
Yeah, they don't need to be Jim Carrey or
They don't
whoever.
need to.
Right.
I am not talking about being a stand-up comic. I'm talking about using humor in specific situations. For example, I'll always start off a meeting with something humorous. If people are having conflict, I'll try to interject something humorous to defocus and get the tension down. I use humor to change direction in a meeting if I want people to refocus and to get them to pay attention.
Right. Right.
And also by using humor, and a lot of times it's mostly self deprecating humor, if something stupid or funny I did that I didn't mean to do, but it humanizes me to the people that I'm talking to. And if they realize that Jim can fall down the stairs, they could fall down the stairs, or if or whatever the situation is, and whatever the humor is. It is never, and I don't suggest that it is never humor directed at an individual person,
Right. Right.
religion, or background, or anything like that. It is mostly self-deprecating humor. It's not stand-up comic stuff. You know, you can think of your comedians and how they talk about certain groups of the population. It's none of that. But it's using humor in a way to get control, to refocus, and to humanize yourself so that people see you're approachable.
I love that. I love the self-deprecating part of it. Because, I mean, especially, and this goes back to the question that you always ask yourself every day, you never direct humor at somebody else's expense. Never, ever, 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 no matter how benign or how innocent you think it is, you don't know what's going on and how people are going to respond internally to humor directed at them.
Correct.
And so the self-deprecating part is brilliant because and it's tough to do. It's tough to if you don't have confidence in yourself, and if you don't have that strength inside yourself to be able to make fun of yourself, right? It can be really tough to do. And so, but I love it because you can use humor to totally what's the word I'm trying to say? Bring down the energy,
Correct.
right? And or lift the energy. It goes both ways.
Correct.
And I love it. I love it. Um,
And it's okay to have fun.
it's totally okay to have fun. That is a great point. One
It
of
is
the best.
okay. Yeah, it is okay to have fun. I mean, if you're not having fun with what you do for a
Oh,
living,
life can be so much harder.
it is so much harder. The stress you're bringing home.
Right. And you can find ways to have fun. Right?
Correct.
You can find ways to have fun, right? Make paper airplanes and throw them, throw 'em in the garbage can. I mean, I mean, that's kind of a simplistic way of looking at it, but there's ways that you can find fun and enjoyment in anything you do,
And
right?
I'll give you a perfect example. So neighbors of ours have a band, and last night they were playing at a club, and and I've done this before, and they love it. My wife hates it, but there's a point in their routine that there's this sax section in one of the songs, and the wife picks up the saxophone and comes out into the dance floor, into the audience, and walks around. I sneak behind her and go up on stage and pretend to play her keyboard. I don't have a musical tone in my body. I can't sing. I can't dance. I have two left feet. And it's a riot because people laugh that some guy just walked up on stage and took over an instrument. And I'm
Yeah.
just, moving my fingers around, but not pushing on a key. And they love it. The audience thinks I'm crazy. And it's just having fun.
That is
That's what you're
amazing.
saying, right?
I love that. I when when I was like 7 years old, I saw a bumper sticker that has stayed with me to this day. And that bumper sticker said, "Smile. It's not gonna break your face." Right?
Perfect.
And from that, I mean, what's the alternative, right? But from that, I just one of my passions is to get people to smile.
Get people to smile.
Get people to smile. And what you did with the band and everything, right? Triggered another thought in my mind that I used to be so concerned about what other people think. Oh my gosh, they're going to think what are they going to think? Every day I think about what are people going to think about if I do this, right? And I've grown up to not care. If I want to do something silly, I'm going to do something silly,
Correct.
right?
And you should
And
be entitled to.
yeah,
As long as, I mean, I'm not hurting. I didn't do anything to hurt anybody.
Right.
Now, granted, this was a local place. If they were on some big stadium
Yeah, right,
stage,
right, right,
there's 20 people who are going to tackle me before I get
right.
there.
There's an
I could just see me at
appropriateness
a
level. Yeah.
Springsteen concert trying to get on stage, right?
Yeah.
That ain't going to happen.
Right.
But at a local place, it's
Yeah.
just, but you gotta make people smile,
Yeah. Don't be so serious about yourself. You know,
right?
I
Now,
mean, yeah,
when
it's
we're
have fun.
done, I'm going to get reprimanded by my wife because she hates that I do that. She hates that I do that. And so not only do I have to wait till the saxophonist is off the stage, I have to wait when my wife's not looking so that I
Yeah.
can make my way without
That's
her grabbing my shirt and pulling me back.
that's amazing. That's amazing. And in business and in life, you know, set a daily assignment for yourself.
Make one person smile.
Make one person smile.
Make one person
And
smile.
it's amazing to me because it's so easy to do. Every day I'm walking and I'm approaching people, in the grocery store, aisle or whatever. And I just kind of look at them. I don't stare at them, but if we make eye contact, I smile at them.
And say hello.
And
You
yeah,
know,
and if you want to say hello, you can say hello. But even just with that smile, you can see in their eyes, and most of the time they smile back.
they smile back.
And I just
So
go, I just go, hey.
two quick stories. I know a CEO who every day would park his car on the side of the office building, walk in a side entrance, and take the freight elevator up to the executive offices because he didn't want to interact with people. That is not a leader.
No, no.
Now,
If he
let
doesn't
me
want
tell
to
you,
interact with people, the definition of leadership is leading people. Sorry.
so I led a group of people on a floor of about 60 people. And the woman who came in to empty out the trash twice a day and clean up the kitchen, her name was Kathy. I always said hello to Kathy. I always asked her how she was, always jovial. She was there every day. I noticed nobody talked to Kathy but me. So
Yep.
one day I said, I'm going to fix this because she's a team member. So I sent an email to everybody on the floor. And I said, the first person who can come to me and tell me the name of the person who cleans and takes out the trash twice a day and cleans up the kitchen after all of us, I'll give a $50 Starbucks gift card. I hit send and I walked out of my office and just stood and watched. I see heads starting to pop up, looking around to see, see Kathy. So I never expected this to happen because it scared the daylights out of her because I never told her or her boss I was doing it. But when she entered the floor, there must have been 30 people that charged her.
What's your name? What's your name?
What's your name? What's your name? And she got scared. And so it was so yeah, so I totally blew it, but I wanted to teach them a lesson that
Yeah.
she is part of this team and she's a human and you should say hello to her. And her name is Kathy. Here's what I didn't expect. That exercise resulted in not only Kathy being happier on our floor and having interactions with people, the kitchen was cleaner because people picked up after themselves now that they knew who she was.
Wow.
They
That's
would
that's
put their
amazing.
dishes in the dishwasher instead of stacking them in the sink.
Because now she's a person, not
Correct.
just a
She's a
thing walking
teammate.
by.
She's a teammate.
You know, um, I travel a lot, and my travels are going to start picking up here soon. And every time I walk into the men's room, and there's somebody there, there's the guy that's cleaning the bathroom in there. I always say thank you. I always say thank you. And he may not be looking at me, but he hears me, right? And you know, it it's just the little things that cost us nothing, that just show our humanity. Um, and I don't know, some of those guys might have looked at me, might have watched me go away, going, "Who the heck was that?" But some of the
Right.
guys might have felt like, "Hey, yeah, someone appreciates what I'm doing," and everybody wants to be appreciated.
Absolutely. So I got to tell you one funny story about bathrooms.
Okay,
So
here we go.
as you know, I worked for Ross Perot at Perot Systems.
Hmm.
The first time I met Mr. Perot, I was standing at a urinal going to the bathroom, and Mr. Perot walked in, stood at the urinal next to me, and started a conversation. How you doing? I haven't seen you here
Wow.
before. What's your name? So I left afterwards and was going back to my office, and there was a gentleman. His name was Steve Samuel. He said, "You look white as a ghost. Are you okay?" I said, "Well, I just met Mr. Perot in the restroom." He said, "Really? What happened?" I said, "I think I peed on his shoes." Now, and Steve said, "What?" I said, "I think I peed on his shoes." Now, this is in the morning, and it was a Friday, and about 3 hours later, Steve and I are walking. I forget where we were going, to a meeting or the cafeteria or something, and we passed Mr. Perot in the hallway, and he didn't have his wingtip shoes on. He had sneakers on. And after we passed Mr. Perot, Steve hits me. He says, "You did pee on his shoes."
Oh man.
But I didn't. The truth of the matter was, it was a Friday afternoon, and he always had the helicopter take him to his lake house at Lake
Uh,
Texoma,
uh.
and he always wore sneakers on the helicopter. And
That's
Steve
a
knew
great
that, but
story.
I didn't. And I really thought I must have peed on his shoes.
Oh, that is
Anyway,
hilarious.
you
That
told
is
a bathroom
hilarious.
story, and that just popped in my
Yeah,
mind.
there you
I
go.
didn't want to
There you go.
leave
There
you
you go.
hanging.
All right. Well, listen, this has been an amazing conversation. I just want to go over a couple of things. Folks, that question that we talked about is did I do anything today for my own self-interest at the expense of an individual, a group, or an organization? Right? Amazing
Correct.
question. And we have talked today about the six pillars. First is integrity, then empathy, then compassion, and focus, stability, and humor. Jim, I'm gonna. I think there's a lot of people that are going to pick up your book, but let's close this out here. Close this out,
Here's what we're going to do. This episode is going to get posted on YouTube.
right?
And when you subscribe to John's YouTube channel, you get notified when things are posted. So the first three people, actually, the first five people who make a comment about the episode, what you got out of it. It could be positive, it could be negative. You could tell us we're both nuts if you want. We want feedback because that helps us learn. And I will gladly ship 5 books. Now, here's what you got to make the comment on YouTube. Please don't put your address on YouTube. We will reach out to you, get your address, and I will mail you an autographed copy of the book. But for those who want to go ahead and buy it, it is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and virtually all of the other book outlets as well. Um,
Amazing,
so yes, we're going to give away 5 books.
wonderful, wonderful. And Jim, if folks want to connect with you, how best to do that?
You could do that right through my website, which is www.jimcarlo.com. There's no dot or space or anything between Jim and Carlo. It just all runs together. You can reach me there, and my address is there as well. And so is my phone number. Feel free to reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram as well. Just search for my name.
Wonderful. And Jim is spelled Jim. Carlo, Carlough.
Correct.
Okay. So there you have it. Jim, this has been so much fun. I can't believe an hour's gone by. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for all you're doing in helping people become better leaders. And and we talked about so many different things. I mean, all these little nuggets of ideas and experiences that people can apply to their own lives. And you guys, one of the things I just want to end with is that when we talk about integrity and we talk about the other five pillars, think of them as muscles. Okay. Um, they don't become easy overnight. Or you don't just say one day, "Hey, I'm gonna live in a life of integrity." Um, hey, I'm gonna become a stable person. You start and you work at it and you build it, and the more you work at it, the better you get at it. And so, pick one. First, pick up his book, Jim's book, and pick one. Okay, and all the information is on the show notes. So, with that, Jim, thank you again. Thank you. God bless you. Thank for everything that you're doing, folks out there. Thank you for joining us. God bless you. I love you, and we'll see you next time. Okay,
Thank you,
bye.
John.